Una trona vicino alla sol, una trona vicino alla sol. Una trona vicino alla sol, una trona vicino alla sol.
This video file, I put it as an extension to my previous file, how to sing Celeste Aida. And because there are some questions about the last B-flat morendo or pianissimo Maestro Verdi wrote, and since I'm advocating to sing Aida the way Maestro Verdi wrote, then it will be consistent for me to advocate every tenor who attempts to do it to sing B-flat with morendo or diminuendo, if you like. So this is traditional way. Una trona vicino alla sol, una trona vicino alla sol. No morendo. This is very practical to stage, so most of the tenors who know reality of the opera would do the way I did and not the way the morendo. This kind of pianissimos and pianis, I was even asked by one Norwegian composer, what is this Verdi is writing? She knew I knew Verdi a little bit intimately, and I read his letters, and she asked, what is it that he's writing 6 pianos on this sacred work? You know, it's impossible, 6 pianos. Of course, it's ridiculous. 6 pianos, I mean, there should not be more than 3 pianos. The 3 pianos should be top. But why Verdi was writing 3 pianos, 4 pianos, 5 pianos, 6 pianos? Why he was doing it? In his own letters, Verdi was not satisfied with the screaming out loud tenors and sopranos, and so he asked them to sing softly. And the first remarks of his first actual scores, he did not emphasize on 5 pianos, but during the practice he realized that if he puts 1 or 2 piano, tenors simply don't react on that. They still sing full voice, no matter what. And he started, not only tenors, and he started to put an emphasis on 5 pianos. You know, you can read letters of Giuseppe Verdi, especially letters to Ricordi, his editor. That's why Verdi should not be considered as come scritto. Verdi is full of tradition. Though he himself didn't like when tenors took liberties and sang high notes without, he fined a tenor in Il Trovatore for doing that, for singing high C in Di quella pira, and he didn't like that. But on the other hand, Verdi's music is full of tradition. If you don't know tradition of Verdi, you should not approach it, you should not conduct it, you should not be a Verdi maestro, because that if you approach Verdi from standpoint of the way it was written, then you're missing the point. Puccini can be approached that way, because Puccini wrote every line, every nuance you wanted, and you wanted to control that over. But Verdi is a traditional composer, so don't take seriously his 5, 6 pianos. They are impossible to read. They are for us to realize that we should do our possible, or even impossible, to just not to scream it out, a particular passage. In this particular passage of vicino al sol, is that the passage. Of course, Verdi hoped that the tenors grew up to this point and sing it, But you know, it's unrealistic in a way, because with morendo, probably Aida, in that sense, and this phrase would be sung better by Donizetti, Mozarti, and Bellini tenor, because in that tessitura for Bellini tenor would be almost 2 steps down by sensations. But it was written for tenore spinto, tenore drammatico. So this is unrealistic for expect for tenore drammatico after all his dramatic points, plus he writes forte just before that, as Ergerti, it's forte on B flat, and then he expects you to do the piano and morendo. So of course what I showed you is I never attempt to do it in live performance, for one reason: it's very risky and it's almost impossible. And the vocal practice and history shows us no ever tenor did it ever really on stage and live performance. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean that there will be no ever a tenor who will not be able to do it. The technique that I show here is technique of switching the full voice into falsetto without a break. Not falsetto, head voice, let's say, without a difficult task. Why? Because when you reduce the power, your vocal cords get thinner. So they get thinner, and they also may misplace your larynx. It's very easy to misplace your larynx. And if it happens gradually, you will crack, or you will have uneven voice production. So you have to really control that change from full chest, chiaroscuro supported voice into the head voice without a break. Difficulties of this task is that at the end of the aria, your muscles are tired and you are not as agile, as fine as you could be if you would start doing this right away. The whole tessitura of the aria tires you that much. I don't blame Corelli, who could sing it really, but nevertheless he could not attempt or dare to do it in live performance. That's because it really was risky. If you blew it up, this is the only aria Radames has. It has many other challenging moments in the opera, but this is the only aria it has. Consider yourself a failure in that sense. So every tenor is trying, including Corelli, trying to get this right, the way, not the way idealistically it could be approached, but realistically. And realistically, as we see, it's not possible yet. At least yet. We hope for the future tenor. I mean, some tenors may do it, but it doesn't mean this tenor should sing